on NBA Today. Shams last night, I think surprising a few folks, reporting that the Clippers are working on dealing James Harden before the deadline. This would be, if it happens, the fifth time in his career that he's been traded. 3 of those previous trades have actually come in season. Shams, what more can you tell us?
Hannah, so this was a stunner around the NBA, but James Harden and the Clippers today actively are working on a trade for him out of L.A. And the one team that has emerged with serious interest is the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Clippers have interest in Darius Garland. The Cavaliers have interest in James Harden. And why this is even possible is because James Harden has a mutual option in his contract for next season. He's got a $13 million partial guarantee, and that has sparked discussions over the last several days about James Harden's future with the Clippers and whether there is a longer-term contract potentially awaiting him in the offseason. And once there was nothing really promised, there's no guarantee that he's going to be on the Clippers roster even next season and beyond. There are teams waiting in the wings, and the Cavaliers clearly have a potential need for him, and both sides are looking at this as a potential beneficial option. James Harden wants to compete for a championship. He sees the Clippers are a play-in tournament team right now. The Cavaliers obviously have aspirations in the Eastern Conference, so potentially to play with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley has become a priority for Harden this week.
Okay, Shams, please don't go far, okay? Just stay there. We'll be back with you in a sec. You can see why teams would want James Harden. Really, he's 36 years old. He's still playing at an elite level. Look at this. Averaging over 25 points, 8 dimes a game, 3rd most assists per game in the entire league. He only trails Kay Cunningham and Luka Doncic. Brian, you were there last night as all of this was kind of going down. What do you think of this?
Surreal night and a surreal season for the Clippers. It was a stunner to the NBA, but the Clippers, I think, and the 76ers players actually knew it last night. 76ers have experience with James Harden trade demands, in fact.
Oh, my gosh.
And, you know, they fall down 16-2 to start the game. You could just tell they had no energy. This has been one of the strangest seasons for a team I've ever experienced in my time covering the NBA. We have a team that had very high expectations to start the season, got off to a terrible start in the wake of an alleged scandal. Then they completely turned the season around. They go 17-4, and now one of the cornerstones of that turnaround is essentially forcing his way out of there. And you've still got the thunderstorm on the horizon, which is the potential aspiration sanctions, if indeed there are any, while the Clippers are trying to do something special this season. We thought the Clippers were going to be buyers, you know, so this is going to be interesting. So I will just say, well, let Bobby explain the very complicated complexities of this contract and why this trade is unique. From the Cavs' perspective, Cleveland has another contract situation to worry about. It's not Garland's, it's Donovan Mitchell's. The Cavs have underachieved throughout the course of this season. I think they have made the decision that they need to alter their core, what they call their core 4. Darius Garland is part of that core 4. He has had injury issues to both his right and left toes. And while James Harden is 10 years older, James Harden is a player who the Cavs can believe on the other side of this can improve their chances of winning the Eastern Conference. And I believe that they are willing to entertain this to make sure Donovan Mitchell feels more comfortable signing an extension, make this a more competitive team this year, and potentially send a message that they are being very aggressive to the rest of the league.
I mean, Bobby, how easy does this trade look?
Well,
potentially, let's talk Cavaliers and Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're just looking at, and as Brian said, I think if we're just looking at math, right, it's simple. Harden makes $39.2 million, and Garland makes $39.4 million. So that works. Here's where it gets complicated, Hannah. Harden has a de facto no-trade clause. He dictates as far as where he wants to go in a trade. So anything in a trade, he has to approve. The other thing is, when he did the deal, the Clippers gave him a 15% trade bonus in his contract. That's worth $2.3 million. However, for this trade to happen, he would have to waive that bonus. Because remember, Cleveland is a second apron team. They can't take back more money here. So those are 2 factors. And then as Brian mentioned before, that contract next year, that salary, is only partially guaranteed. So when you look at it right here, that works. It's basically a swap, but they're going to have to get through some mechanics here as far as waiving that no trade clause and also waiving the 15% trade bonus here. So there's some things to work around the edges there.
He's not going to do it for free. Well, he's not going to. That's 2 things he's got to say yes to, and he's not going to do it for free, and I don't blame him. just to jump in there.
Right,
Sorry.
right. Okay, no, good. Jump in anytime.
No,
Wendy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Shump, how do you like this on the floor, potentially, if you swap Garland and Harden out?
On the floor, I don't know if I like it because I've watched the Cavs be successful in the past hanging their hat on the defensive end. You just got rid of DeAndre Hunter, and now you bring in James Harden. Your defense takes a hit. I love Ja. I think he protects the rim, and he does a great job out there. I think their guard play, they all defend and try and compete. But when you add James Harden, you're going to lose a little bit on defense, which, you know, I'm sure they know, and they're willing to roll their dice with that. But I wouldn't do it. I've seen the ball dominance of James Harden. I've seen the ball dominance of Spider Mitchell, and I think it clashes. I think that was a lot of the problem with Chris Paul and James Harden. You can't figure out who's going to make the decisions, and if those two guys butt heads, you don't want that. I don't want to see it, but I hope they make me wrong. If it happens and I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong about this because that's
well,
two all-star basketball players.
Ever that would love to be wrong.
I would. I would love for the Cavaliers to do well.
Yeah, but you know what? You just highlighted something very important. It is kind of a high-risk, high-reward because you do lose on defense, but you do gain a lot offensively. There have been many different versions of James Harden, the beard, right? The sixth man, the MVP, and now the James Harden that we see in 2026, year of our Lord, is the facilitator. That is the guy that we got to know in Los Angeles. You're going to see plenty of great screens, and we all know James Harden, no matter what, can get a bucket. He's averaging 25. He's still elite, considered a snub by some, right? Step back, he's going to knock it down, but he's so good at reading. Before, he would settle. Now he's taking what the defense gives him. But this right here is a separator, and this is why potentially Cleveland is giving a hard look at him. The pick and roll that he had on display with Zubac. It was masterful. These are hours and hours and days in the gym. Look at the behind-the-back pass. And I say these numbers for a reason because I want to show you these stats. Over the last 3 seasons, no one has generated more amongst 2 players, ball handler and screener, than those 2. Now you combine the fact that Cleveland needs to unlock Evan Mobley, needs to unlock Allen. They need to make their post players look like stars in order to compete in the East and get to where their expectations are. I see why they're making potentially this risky move, a hard look at Harden, pun intended, because this is who he is now. He can knock down an open shot. He's a team-first guy. But most importantly, he brings out the best out of the post players, and that's where they really need that effort.
Yeah, DNP last night, again, for the second straight game for personal reasons. He was elsewhere, as we know.
Yeah.
You said in our pre-show meeting, this is one of the most fascinating basketball stories that you have ever covered, this Clippers franchise. Why?
Yeah, because this is a team that really had high expectations. I'm not sure I would have picked them to win the West, but they finished last year so strong, went 7 games with the Nuggets in the first round. They thought that they upgraded their roster in the offseason. That's debatable. But when you go 17-4, and not only that, Kawhi Leonard is playing really some of the best basketball he's had. Kawhi and James were the cornerstones of this team. And I'm not sure how long they could have stayed together, but the cornerstones of this team. And for James to, it's his prerogative. James has got to take care of himself. But it's just unusual. But I also say that Cleveland has believed in this core 4 for a long time, which is, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Garland. And now to move off of that, it signals pretty much anything is possible. Cleveland has already made 1 trade this week. I think, in talking to sources, this deal can get done if the Cavs say yes. And what's holding the Cavs up is, I'm sure, what they might have to pay James Harden in a new contract, but also that they actually want to fracture the core 4. Because this is, I can tell you, just spending a lot of time around Cleveland, this is something that they believed in could lead them to the finals. But I think this ball is sitting in the Cavs' court right now.
Real quick, Bobby, could they afford to keep that core 4, though? What would that look like?
They can. I mean, you're swapping out the Garland and Harden number here. And I think if we're talking about what James Harden wants. If for this deal to happen, if I'm James Harden, I'm wanting my contract for next year guaranteed. It's only $13 million of that $42 million. Or we're going to rip that up and we're going to do a new deal in the offseason here. But yeah, it's expensive. They've committed to paying over $140 million in luxury tax penalties. But if they can get to an NBA Finals, you can justify that.
Yeah, meanwhile, for James Harden, he has the 2nd most career points in NBA history to never win a title, right behind Karl Malone. So there's that.
All right, come